Hello, everybody. Welcome to Also Rusty Buckets. I'm trying to get this channel to 30K subs, so go ahead and subscribe. That is much appreciated. Also, drop a like on this video. So I am in a very good mood, although I said that in the last video and I saw someone comment like, Rusty says he's in a very good mood and his tone does not change at all. Yeah, that's pretty much me. I'm not animated at all. But yeah, so the Bulls are currently the 6th seed. As for the games that I watched today, just to get that out of the way, I watched Pacers versus Warriors, Bulls versus Timberwolves, and what was the last one? Lakers versus Jazz, and the fourth quarter of Hornets versus Suns. So let's talk about this Bulls game right out of the gate, because the title of this video is I Love Being a Bulls Fan. Yeah, 6th seed after the Celtics got fucking smacked by the Hawks. I mean, the end box score doesn't look as insane as that game was because they only won by 15, but I know that this game was like a 30-point game at halftime. Like the Hawks had 70 something, Trae Young with 33 and Gallo with 38 off of the bench on 13 for 16, shooting 10 for 12 from 3. Jesus Christ. I didn't watch the game. That was my first time looking at the box score. So 6th-seeded Chicago Bulls. Now, it's worth mentioning, why the fuck is 15 and 16 the 6th seed in the conference? That's kind of pathetic. But I'm definitely pretty excited about the fact that we're here regardless. Zach LaVine's an all-star. Bulls are a top 6 seed. All the haters can suck it, and that's including me because I thought the Bulls would not be this good this year. Although, like I said, with the fact that this record is the 6th seed, I also didn't expect the Heat, Celtics, and Hawks and Wizards to be nearly as bad as they are. So they really would be out of the playoffs under what I consider would be normal circumstances based on what I expected from these teams. But regardless, the Bulls are the 6th seed. Now, as for this actual game versus the Timberwolves, this one was very nearly complete bullshit. I was ready to come on this video incredibly angry, but luckily the Bulls, when this game went into overtime, were able to take it over. But the reason why this game went into overtime is because on a play where Ricky Rubio was clearly passing the ball and then Kobe White touched him, which was kind of a foul. And as soon as Ricky Rubio felt that, he was like, I'm going to turn this pass into what looks like a shot attempt. And then now I'm going to get 3 free throws out of it. And that was complete horseshit. The Bulls were up 3 in this situation. Zach LaVine was not able to hit the game winner after Rubio hit these 3 free throws, and it was a very difficult shot, so fine on him. Yeah, that was infuriating that happened. That's one of the worst calls that I have ever seen. Luckily, though, because Cat had fouled out on a call that probably shouldn't have been made, so I understand Timberwolves fans are like that made up for that or whatever. The Bulls are able to win in OT. They started off 7-0 in overtime. I'm not going to talk too much about the Bulls just in general because I've talked so much about the Bulls on this channel, but I mean, shit. 6th seed right now, nobody can talk down to me right now. But for the actual performances, I have to shout out Zach LaVine, of course, 14 for 21 from the field. It didn't seem like he could miss in this game, obviously. Wendell was good, although there were a couple people criticizing the corner 3 that he took late in the game. It was wide open, and he's been good in the corner for most of his career and this season, and there was only a couple seconds left on the shot clock, so I can't get mad at him for taking that shot. I wouldn't want him to pass that one up. Patrick Williams was good in this game. He got a really nice dunk, nearly got a second poster dunk, and Thad Young, Thomas Satoransky continued to be fantastic off of the bench. Though for the Timberwolves themselves, it's kind of fucking bonkers that this team gives Anthony Edwards and Malik Beasley the same amount of shot attempts as Karl Anthony Towns. Like, do they not realize that Karl Anthony Towns is a generational scoring talent? I've seen Kenny complain about this on his videos. Like, come on, guys. You got to start treating Cat like the player that he is. The fact that they haven't even fully taken advantage of his talent is part of the reason why they have continued to be disappointing year after year. But let's talk about this Pacers versus Warriors game. This was a game where I didn't really take away too much, partially because the Bulls game was going on at the same time, and that's going to take priority in terms of what game I'm looking at the most. But for the most part, this was a pretty bog-standard game, other than the fact that Steph 1 for 11 from 3. He could not make a damn jump shot to save his fucking life. But also for this game, Draymond Green's playmaking was awesome. I used to have a take back in the day where I was like, Draymond Green, really, his assist just benefits from the system he's in Golden State. Like, a lot of players in his position could average like 8 assists per game just because he's passing to Klay Thompson and Steph on the perimeter. But my mind has completely changed on that, especially seeing him be as good as he is on the Warriors right now. As long as he just has one of those guys, Steph, he can be that great playmaker. There was a play in transition where he had his back completely turned, and I was like, damn, it's a shame that Draymond does not have eyes in the back of his head, because he would see that James Wiseman is trailing him. But then he threw the pass like around his back to James Wiseman. So he does have eyes in the back of his head, apparently. There's also a very nice backdoor cut to Kelly Oubre that he found. He finished the game with double-digit assists. So shout out to Draymond Green. One thing I do have as a kind of a weird take here about Steph Curry's three-point shooting. I almost appreciate his shooting more when he has these off games. He had like a 1 for 10 performance like a week ago, something like that. 1 for 11 here. I think he was 1 for 9, whatever, doesn't matter. I almost feel like I appreciate Steph as a shooter more, because you realize when Steph's shots aren't going in, how insane the attempts that he actually takes are. Like, when his shots are going in, you almost get numb to it, because you're just like, yep, that's Steph. But when they're not going in, you're like, it really puts into perspective how bonkers the shots that he takes actually are. Because when they're not going in, you have the anticipation of, yeah, that shot's not going to go in, and you realize, like, wow, that was fucking nuts that he took that. Like, that was a step back over 2 defenders, or like he was 35 feet out. But you don't really have that appreciation when Steph is making them. Like, of course, you always revel in Steph's shooting ability, but when they're not going in, it's just like, bro, that's a crazy shot. And under normal circumstances, he makes it. So, yeah, shout out to Steph Curry as well. Let's talk about Lakers versus Jazz. This was an ugly game for the Lakers. Talk about needing Anthony Davis. I did see an interesting stat, though, in the comments, as well as on Twitter after my second most recent video, where I said the Lakers really needed Anthony Davis. Apparently, they're like 4-1 without AD, but with Dennis Schroeder, but Dennis has been out as well. And, you know, just losing Dennis on top of AD, like, there's just no shot creation, excluding LeBron, and then, like, 3 plays a night from Talen Horton-Tucker. But, yeah, this is an ugly game. They didn't even score 90 points, which is, like, one of the lowest scoring games by a team in the NBA this year. LeBron James' three-pointers aren't going in. I saw a stat today that was, like, after this game, that was, like, he's, like, shooting, like, 18% over his last 9 games. That's tough. I knew his shooting was not as good as it was early on in the season, but I didn't expect it to have this big of a swing downward. One thing that's annoying about LeBron, especially since he's become more of a three-point shooter later in his career, is that, like, he makes a 3. He's like, all right, next play I'm going to pull up from 30 feet. It's like, dude, you can just make a 3 and move on. And he's LeBron James, so he can do whatever he wants, and it's going to work out in the long run. But it was still frustrating. It's still a frustrating thing that happens with him in general. And LeBron probably not as good of a performance as his last game. I got a lot of flack for saying in his last game, the last Lakers game, that I didn't really think that game was LeBron's fault. Let me pull up the box score in this one. I can tell you now that it didn't seem like he was having a particularly good game. I don't know what the box score is going to tell me. Yeah, just 19 points on 7 for 13. Why are you shooting the ball 13 times when your team really needs you? Granted, he only played 28 minutes because it was kind of a blowout really early, so I guess I'll give him a bit of a pass for that one. Yeah, this was not a pretty game for the Lakers. 89 points. They shot 40% as a team, which I honestly think was kind of high, being that they scored as little as they did. Utah, though, it's just put into perspective how good the Utah Jazz are. Donovan Mitchell, 4 for 16, and they beat the Lakers by 25. That's really fucking good, if you were not aware. So their best scorer has a rough game. Does not matter, because this team is very, very good. Like I've said before, you got to believe in the Utah Jazz. You just really, really should. Like, this team is clearly not the 2015 Hawks. If you want to be mean, call them the 2018 Raptors or call them the 2017 Celtics, but they ain't no 2015 Hawks. So, yeah, I don't have too many takeaways from this one. Just LeBron wasn't able to carry this team here. Definitely a lot worse of performance. One thing I did notice, Montrezl Harrell with these mid-range jump shots. I don't know what the stats are. I've said this a couple of times with Montrez now in these post-game recaps, but he looks a lot more confident in the mid-range shot than he did previously. I almost said in Los Angeles, but he's in Los Angeles again with the Clippers. But he's looking good on them this year. So, yeah, not too many takeaways from this one. Kyle Kuzma, 2 for 7. Jesus. But yeah, the Bulls are in the playoffs, and I am very fucking happy about it. Go check out the latest podcast that we did. That one has not been performing as well as I'd like, and I really love doing those podcasts. Like, even if they continue to do poorly, I'm gonna keep doing them because I love talking with those guys. But like, come on, go watch the podcast. Like, if you're watching to this point in this video, you probably enjoy my content to some extent or another. So you really have nothing to lose by giving it a shot. But yeah, that's all I gotta say today. This is probably the shortest shortest recording that I have had. Period. Also, speaking of deep dives, the next one I'm uploading is going to be available on Patreon tomorrow. So if you want to see the deep dive early, go support me over on Patreon. But yeah, think that's it. Bye.